Hey, my name's Pastor Phil, and welcome to our Vineyard Church Sunday service online. We are so glad you're here with us this morning. Hey, if you're a guest or a visitor and you happen to stumble upon our video, we are so glad you're here. Actually, we'd love to send you something. If you could shout out to us on Facebook or send a private message, we could probably hook you up with something. Love to do that. So hey, why not give it a chance? See what you get, right? So, I'm Pastor Phil, like you already know, and we're back in our sermon series called CrossFit, right? Because if you ever seen CrossFit or you looked into CrossFit, it's this workout series, this workout program that gets your muscles all geared up. Well, we've asked ourselves, what about our faith muscles? What are the things we can do that is going to help us trust God more? And maybe you're not even a Christian and you're watching this video. This stuff, I'm telling you, these practices can help you in your life too. Even if you don't believe in God, if you implement these things we've been talking about, you're going to see your life grow in a better way. So, getting back into it, what practice are we going to talk about? Well, I don't want to give you that right away. I want to tell you a story. I love story time. Do you like story time? I hope you do. So, let me ask you a question. Do you like to go on vacation? Huh? Yeah, you probably are like, duh, Pastor Phil, that's the dumbest thing you've ever asked me. Yes, I like to go on vacation. Who doesn't like to go on vacation, right? Some vacate over to the mountains. My family, some vacate down to Disney World. Did it once. It was great. But my family, we like to vacate, or as our friends across the pond say, go on holiday, right? We like to go to the shore. Now, I want you to catch this. I didn't say beach, okay? Because I'm from New Jersey, and we don't go to beaches. We go to the shore. So, I like to go to the shore in New Jersey. Love it. One of my favorite places. The beach, I'll be honest, is kind of but the boardwalk is amazing. If you get a chance, you should check it out. Well, last year was great. We got to go on vacation, me, Jess, and the kids. We went on vacation to the shore, and it was my kids' first time, all right? And this is the first time for us as parents taking our kids to the shore. So you might be able to relate to this story if you got kids. And I just remember, you think vacation's one of those times where you get to relax, it's restful, right? But before you can go on vacation, right, you have to pack everything up. You got to look at everything you have, right? Get that week amount of clothing. Then you have to have a week amount of food. Then you got to have enough toys to entertain the kids. Then you got to make sure there's beach toys there that the kids can play with, right? You got to pack this all up, and then you drive on down, which is a couple hours, right? And we get there, and you can't just do what you want right away. You got to unpack, right? So you unpack everything, and then you got to put it away. And then you got to figure out what you're going to do for the rest of the week, right? And usually we did it by day, right? So when are we going to eat? When are we going to go to the beach? When are we going to come back and shower? When are we going to go to the boardwalk, right? You got to make all these plans, right? And then the worst is when you get to the beach, right? Because before you get there, you got to lug the umbrellas. You got to lug the towels. And don't forget the sunscreen, because I did that once. Bad experience. I was red. I was a lobster that day. But anywho, you got to get all that, and then you got to put it together. And as you're putting it together, your eyes have to be on your kids, right? If you're a parent, you can attest to this, because your kids will run all over the place. And if you have to make sure they don't go in other people's areas and kick sand. You got. Do you hear this? Is this sounding like a vacation to you? This isn't a right? Vacations are supposed to be relaxing and not stressful, right? But have you ever came back from a vacation and you're like, I need a vacation from my vacation? I don't feel like I rested, right? Because I didn't even get in. We were halfway through my beach story, and that is too long, right? I hope you felt exhausted by it, right? Because that's what we think. When we think about resting, vacation comes to our mind, but is that really resting, right? Is that really taking our time to relax and get the day behind us, right? What happens if I told you that's not what it's meant to be? That vacation is not the time for you just to relax, right? what we think of rest is the opposite, right? You ever done this? I know that this is the opposite. Like, we know what tall is because it's the opposite of small, right? And we think rest is the opposite of work. But what happens if I tell you that that's one way to look at it? But what happens if I tell you biblically it's something deeper than that? That work is for other people, right? Work is your time and energy going to serve other people or other projects or other things. Think about that. When you think of work, unless you're working for yourself, which you could be, but even if you work for yourself, there's usually a customer or a client or someone else you're doing a service for, right? Rest is when you take that time and energy and you put it to just you, right? You were not thinking about other people. And you might be like, Phil, Pastor Phil, that is really, really a selfish way to look at using one's time. That's not even a Christian way of looking at things. Well, before you judge me, right? Don't do it. Don't judge me. Jesus said, don't do it. Don't do it, right? Let's look at what Scripture has to say, right? Because I think we get off base. We have to look at this practice called resting, or some in our Christian circles, we call it a Sabbath, right? If you've never heard that word, that's okay. It's just a Jewish word. It's our English version of the Jewish word Shabbat, which just means that's a day once a week where you're supposed to rest, right? And guess who made that day? You guys know? I love to tell you, God made that day, okay? And how did God make that? Well, let's look at Genesis chapter 2, the very beginning. I'm going to read it to you all right here. And we're going to learn that rest was something that God designed. So it says right here, when God created everything, right? And you might be someone who's like, Phil, that Genesis account, it's weird. God made things in a day. I took science class. I know what education. I'm not here to argue that, okay? Because the point that the author is going to make here is not a science point. The point he's going to make is a theological point, and I want you to hear this. So I'm not saying don't ever think about this, but I want you to hear the point, the theological point that's coming out in this passage. So it says right here that when God, on the seventh day, when God finished his work that he had done, he rested on the seventh day, and from all his work he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in the creation. You want to hear that? Right? It says right there, God rested. Okay? God took a rest. That might not sound weird to you yet, but let's do a little Theology 101. You ready? Theology 101. Theology 101. When we talk about God, we talk about attributes of God. What makes God God, right? And one of the things that makes God God is God doesn't need anything. God is self-sufficient. That's why if you look in the Bible, right? God never says, I need you to do this. God doesn't say, I need food, right? I need water. I need you to praise me, right? That's not in there because God's all sufficient. Because if God is not all sufficient and relies on something else, God is not God. That's one of the attributes that makes God God, right? That's why we don't look at the Greek gods, because they're not all sufficient. They do all kind of devious things, right? This is part of being who God is. So God didn't go, oh, I'm so tired. I created everything, right? I just spoke it out. There's some people I had to make with my hands, but I talk too much. Woo, I need a break. God didn't need a break. I want you to catch that. God needed no break. So why? If God doesn't need a break, why did God take a rest? Why did God decide, I'm going to take a whole day and not do anything? And the key is, God didn't need it. The creation needed it. We need it. We need a day of rest.